A UC Berkeley professor by the name of Robert Van Hoevling did a presentation at Stanford, actually, and he explained that he got basically did a study where he got a bunch of people to say how they would vote based on positions that politicians had, okay? And what he wanted to see was, do they pick up more votes if they change their positions, or do they lose more votes? Now, that's really interesting. At first, when I was reading the initial part of this, I thought, well, it would probably depend on the issue, and if you're saying that flip-flopping costs you votes, well, that might be because those people are in moderate districts, and if you're in a more conservative district or in a more liberal district, and you have an incentive to stay with your position, but that'll have you win more because you're already in safe districts. But no, it wasn't. He didn't take real politicians and real issues, et cetera, because it would have complicated matters. It would have put all those variables into play. He did something smarter. He said, all right, look, I'm going to tell you that this theoretical politician has this position, and theoretical politician B has this position. And then he tested how they would affect their votes if they changed their position or they didn't. And it turns out that if a politician stays with the principles that they had without changing it, they get 57% of the vote, including people who don't agree with them. But if they're consistent, they respect that and they vote for that anyway. That's a really interesting finding. But the politicians that switch their positions, now whether people agree with them or disagree with them, only get 43% of the vote on average through all these different issues. So the quote-unquote flip-flopping politicians lose 14% of the vote on average, as opposed to the politicians who remain consistent. Now, there's a lot of lessons that you can get from that. Number one, you can see why the country is more polarized, because you have incentives for politicians to, quote-unquote, stay the course. And even if things change around them, even if situations change, not to change their minds. That's the unfortunate, one of the unfortunate conclusions that you get from this. Now, but when you guys know and we know, that's not really the case in America. The Republicans stay the course, right? But the Democrats don't follow this, apparent, fact of politics. They haven't caught on to it. So, the very famous case of John Kerry, of course, being for the Iraq War funding before being against it, the flip-flop, etc. It doesn't work. When you try to, and unfortunately that has big consequences for Obama, because he seems to be always trying to split the baby and split the difference and say, hey, you know what, I'm a little for this and a little for that. Yeah, I promised you change, but now I'm not going to give you as much change. I'm going to go more towards the right wing, etc. And you know what? That exudes weakness. And I know the Republicans get this idea. I hope the Democrats read this and understand that that has a political price. Even if you switch to a position that the country agrees with more, and it definitely varies position by position. For example, if you switch to a pro-life position, funny enough, pro-life people are more open-minded. They're like, hey, come any way you like, okay? As long as you come to our side, we'll vote for you, okay? Now, that's not an entirely true statement, but it's more so than other issues. But overall, on average, flip-flopping costs you votes. So why do the Democrats keep doing it? Why don't you actually deliver the change that you promised to the voters? You're going to be shocked to find out you'd actually get more votes that way. Put some thought behind it.